In the beginning of 2023, things could not have been better for Naughty Dog. Their critically acclaimed, generation-defining video game, The Last of Us, had just been adapted to television, and it was a major hit, breaking records and introducing the story of Joel and Ellie to a brand new audience. To make things even better, the show ended up resulting in amazing crossover sales. Of all their Last of Us video games, The Last of Us Part 1 Remake, The Last of Us Part 2, and even The Last of Us Remastered all saw a significant spike in sales. Factions lobbies were being flooded with new fresh meat too, and fans were excited because there was promise for news of a new Last of Us multiplayer project and a promise that we would get news this year.
And you're going to see a lot more of this game come next year.
And to make things even more exciting, plenty of rumors were swirling around about a potential Last of Us Part 3. It was a great time to be a Naughty Dog fan. So when you fast forward today, it might be a bit shocking and jarring that Naughty Dog's community is in what I would say are probably some of the lowest spirits I've ever seen. I mean, arguably you could say that when The Last of Us Part 2 leaks came out, spirits were pretty low, but at least pretty soon after that catastrophe, a game actually came out for many to enjoy. And so all this negativity, all this bad, it kind of begs the question, what's going on over at Naughty Dog? What does the future even hold for this beloved studio? Dr. Pooplove here, and that's what I hope to explore today. Let's get right into it. Now, to quickly recap, these highest highs and momentum that Naughty Dog was riding was quickly muted by just L after L. The PC port of their Last of Us remake came out in an uncharacteristically poor quality. Definitely not good in line with that Naughty Dog quality brand. And it was honestly an embarrassment. It felt like greed was kind of at play here, as Sony probably wanted that game out close enough to The Last of Us TV show in order to inflate sales. But at least this promised news of The Last of Us online experience was still on the way, right? Right? Wrong. Jason Schreier got a scoop that Destiny dev Bungie, a recent Sony acquisition, had performed a live service quality review over their Factions sequel and identified issues. And well, this forced Naughty Dog's hand to ultimately admit that it had been delayed. They put out a statement, but I do wonder, would they have even told us this if not for Jason's reporting? Because we've had some key Naughty Dog dates go by where they engage their community, and they've said nothing. The 10-year anniversary and The Last of Us Day went by with radio silence, despite all the promises for news this year and lack of clarity as to whether we could still expect it. And this gets me to what I think is really the main problem here and why spirits are so low, and that is communication at Naughty Dog, or lack thereof. With all these bad things happening that are deeply affecting the Naughty Dog community and making them question whether Naughty Dog is okay, the studio has decided to be mostly silent, even on these very key dates where they don't always make huge announcements, but they at least kind of give hints and nods about the games that they're working on. Now, to be fair, they did give a heads up on these dates that they wouldn't be discussing their projects, and that is actually a step in the right direction, because in the past, they would kind of just lead us on. But by choosing not to discuss anything, I think it's still the wrong choice in my opinion, because they're letting their fans worry and not offering anything to reassure them. They've let their multiplayer fans worry about the state of their multiplayer project, and their single player fans think that they haven't really started on much because of this multiplayer project. Everyone is worried because they're wondering, where are the games and are things all right at the studio? And it honestly just makes it worse when Naughty Dog says nothing and instead they just spend their time retweeting fan art and posting this pre-recorded 30-minute long live stream that mostly features an old video of Troy Baker singing as Joel. It felt like it was cobbled together just to kind of check a box, and it more so felt like they're just embarrassed to even be here today and even to have any sort of presence on The Last of Us Day. And the sad showing doesn't give their fans much confidence that things are all right, and it also makes Naughty Dog seem very out of touch. Honestly, I think they should be commiserating a bit with their community. They should show them that they kind of understand what it must feel like right now. And they should try to offer some reassurances, even if there's no news to report. They could have at least reiterated things that they have already stated in the past just to quell some of the fears. Look, at some point we get it. Like, of course, if a game had to be delayed, you might want to also delay the announcement, but you can't exactly just go radio silent after beginning this cadence of talking about it more and more regularly, and then expect your fans to just be in good spirits. All this just makes it seem like Naughty Dog doesn't have a pulse on how their community feels, and they should be trying to make up for this longer wait with some good communications and reassurances. Look, it's not going to work for some. People are still going to be upset that no new game has been announced, and you're just never going to win everyone over. But this time, you have fans who've been defending you for this whole time, who just are kind of at a loss, and they're starting to lose hope. I haven't personally felt this low about The Last of Us in the longest time. It's weird that they would kind of do this in more subtle ways than in these more direct ways. Like when they did this job posting on Naughty Dog Jobs that showed the concept art, or when they had their cosplay guide include a section for factions fans. And so it doesn't really make sense to just not say anything on the key day. Now look, we have had some assurances from the Naughty Dog devs. They've chimed in during these days, and it has helped bring some hope when Naughty Dog's official channels haven't said anything. But the reality is, it should be coming from the official channels. Now, unfortunately, this isn't actually new for Naughty Dog. They often stay silent when their community is upset about something. If you remember the whole $70 Last of Us Part 1 remake debacle, you'll remember that they said nothing. So this strategy of silence is not new, but I do think this strategy has actually gone beyond Naughty Dog themselves. This seems like the new PlayStation strategy overall now. I mean, just look at the way Sony has been communicating to their fans in the last few years. There haven't been that many showcases, and they haven't really said what to expect from PlayStation Studios, besides Spider-Man 2 and some live service games, which honestly, besides maybe Helldivers 2, they haven't really given us a good reason to care that much about it. In general, it does feel like PlayStation just seems like they don't really care about their hardcore fans anymore. The type of people who want to know what to be excited for. And well, it kind of feels like we're being taken advantage of because yeah, we do show up for the games when we get them, despite how they were marketed. And from a financial standpoint, PlayStation is doing really well. So you can see why Sony may feel like they don't need to put in any of that extra effort. And look, at some level, it seems like this is in part out of Naughty Dog's control because this is just how Sony wants to do things now, with games now only being talked about when they are a mere months away. But it feels like the strategy, while it might make sense from a business perspective, it doesn't really respect the communities that have been built around these properties. And when the general PlayStation fan base is clamoring for some news about what PlayStation Studios are working on, to just say nothing, it feels like you don't care. I don't think I'm alone in feeling like Sony just doesn't care and that it's all about the money for them. The strategy makes total sense from a business perspective, but doesn't really factor in that human element, which I really just think shouldn't be overlooked. Look, if the devs and Naughty Dog need more time to work on their games, I think that's totally fine. I think most people would be pretty reasonable in understanding. Not everyone, but most. But when you don't say anything, when you seem like you don't seem to have a pulse, when it seems like you're out of touch with your community, and you don't do anything to just reassure us a little bit, especially after all this horrible news has come out, I don't think you should be surprised when your community is upset. At this point, I'm kind of ranting in circles, but I think you get the point. And so with all this negative though, I do want to bring it back to hope, because hope still exists. Poor communication doesn't mean that the games are going to be bad, and it doesn't mean that the games are not going to come out. Naughty Dog is hard at work. Factions 2 hasn't been canceled. They are still working on it. They also have always had a single player team working on something. Naughty Dog has multiple projects in the works, and they're gearing up to bring their fans what is important to them, the games, the best games in the business. And we actually do know more than what Naughty Dog is actually telling us. They're working on The Last of Us Part 3. according to leaks and, well, because of course they are. They also seem to have a new IP in some form of development, according to job postings stating that very intention. They are helping out on a new Uncharted game, as it appears from other job postings. The composer of The Last of Us leaked that a Last of Us Part 2 remaster is on the way, which, well, I don't necessarily need that and kind of don't want them focused on that, but still, stuff is in the works, and we will be getting the fruits of that labor. Sony clearly right now wants all the focus to be on Spider-Man and what's coming out in the next few months, and it honestly makes sense. I think their new marketing strategy is in place now where we're just not going to know what's next until it's a few months away. And that way the PlayStation fans are more focused in and more hyped for what's in front of them rather than what's ahead by a few years. And when Naughty Dog's ready with their games, they will be able to speak. And when they do speak, it likely means their next game is a few months away. And look, this strategy probably does help the devs too. It puts a lot less pressure on them to make trailers and meet arbitrary deadlines, pumping up hype for a game that's still years away. In the end, hopefully, this means that we will end up with better products. I still don't like it. I still think they should talk, especially when they've already kind of opened that can of worms. But regardless, the games are still coming. And look, some of these approaches may actually change now because we just found out that Jim Ryan is stepping down, and he's been kind of the tone at the top for a lot of this strategy. Of course, it remains to be seen what plans the new leadership will have. No doubt, PlayStation is in a great financial position, but hopefully someone comes in who kind of more understands gamers and gamer culture. And hopefully they can come in and set the type of tone that respects their hardcore fans more and is just a little bit more open. Of course, though, they could always just double down on what has clearly been working. Either way, we won't know just yet how that shift is going to occur, and as far as Naughty Dog games are concerned, it's likely going to be a long and hard wait. But have faith, Pooper Troopers, Naughty Dog will be back, and when they do come back, they will be bigger than ever. Until then, check out this video, which goes into how I think Naughty Dog could implement a story within their Last of Us standalone multiplayer experience. Something that leans into their narrative storytelling strengths that we know them for, but also brings us some of that multiplayer goodness. You should check this out. But otherwise, so long, Pooper Troopers.